Welcome back to Thinking Out Loud. I am Joel.
I am Brad. Hello from a howling amazing city, Detroit, Michigan.
Okay. All right, today on tap, we have a question that you have been wanting to talk about for quite some time. It might even be fair to say that this is a burr in your saddle or a burr somewhere else.
It really
perhaps
cooks my
in some
goose,
kind
Joel.
of orifice.
It really cooks my goose.
Anyway, so why aren't agencies structurally set up to use influencers?
Well, the short answer to that is I don't have a damn idea why they don't structurally align to fix things, because there's a huge opportunity that's being missed by most large agencies. However, I think we can dive a little bit deeper.
And when we say large agencies, without naming names, let's talk about the kind of agency that we have in mind, just for the sake of definition.
Yeah, these are large creative agencies that have typically been around for decades or generations in some cases, where there's a lot of inertia that's been built up between how these agencies work with different brands. And generally, these are creative agencies who will handle multi-channel marketing. So,
and they'll do the media too. They'll be doing media buying as well, but they also they're generally tasked with coming up with the creative.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. Yep. So they're going to be doing, if there's direct mail, they're going to be doing direct mail. If there's digital like banner ads and SEO and SEM, there's a good chance they're going to be doing that. They might be doing all the buying for billboards and for TV and for radio and for podcasts, and yes, for influencer marketing as a whole. So these agencies generally have a lot of on the line, which is the first reason really why these agencies are not structurally set up to work with influencers, because they have a lot of dollars vested with the brand that they have controlled, right? So the agencies like to be able to control everything that's going out. It's manicured, it's curated, it's underneath their wingspan. And to be successful in influencer marketing, you need to release control and allow for brand advocacy as opposed to repeating things in a brand voice. So that's something we talk about a lot, but I think it's really important to realize that if I am a large agency and I have, pick a number, $50 million in spend annually from a brand, I don't want to run a test campaign where I'm now releasing control and I'm maybe making $100,000, $500,000, and I'm going to put at risk my $50 million for some Yahoo influencer to use whatever brand voice they want to go out and talk about it. No, no, no. I'm not doing that if I'm an agency.
So let's talk about the process. All right, let's say that you are, I am a large, nationally well-known insurance company.
Yes.
Car, life, house, right? All of those, there's like this great ad war happening between all the big players.
For sure.
Right? I mean, and they like to be fair, like it's actually, I think Progressive and Geico and Farmers and State Farm, like they've all developed like really very clever, very engaging ad campaigns.
No
right?
doubt about it.
So let's talk about somebody like them.
Without naming any names, right?
Well, I'm referencing the category, and we're maybe one of those, or maybe we're somebody different. But how does the process work? Like where does the idea start? Where does it go from there? Like let's dig into a little bit about how a typical process works, and then because I think we can put a fine point about why influencers are so radically different.
Agreed. And there's two places where the ideas are going to start. They're either going to start with the brand or they're going to start with the agency. And you and I were in a meeting, not within the insurance agency, but for a large industry. I don't even want to say the industry, a large industry that spends a ton of money annually in marketing. And we're meeting with the agency that represents this brand. And we have an influencer who's very big, very influential. We work with a ton, who's really passionate about it, this particular industry and this particular brand. Yeah. And we volunteered to, at no cost, come up with creative ideas and bring them to the agency to be able to better represent the brand. And the agency said to us, no. And we want to be respectful of your time because the brand always wants to be the smartest person in the room.
Verbatim.
Yes. And the the brand then comes up with the idea, works together with the agency, and the agency's role is to then put a little bit of structure around the idea, create an RFP.
Which is a request for proposal.
Thank you. And then put that out to different influencer agencies, or really anyone who is involved in influencer, who can then respond to this and then do it in a way such that it fits with the idea and the concept, and generally speaking, the brand voice of of that particular brand. So now you're having influencers try to cram their thoughts and ideas into the creative that they didn't come up with, and may or may not be a direct hit to their audience. And this is damning on so many different levels. It's damning on the industry, because it shows a lack of willingness to change and pivot as the industry evolves. It's damning because you're not getting the best out of influencers, right? These are really smart people who have a tremendous relationship with their audience, and now we're asking them to fight with 2 arms tied behind their back and generally a leg as well, because the smartest people in the room are developing that creative, and that's really terrible. And then third is, we've now, as an agency, we'll say that we've tried influencer marketing and it didn't work, right. And then they're going to start to share that out at conferences or with brands or with other people that it didn't work. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It's actually very effective if you do it right and you invest the time, energy, and effort to develop relationships and let go a little bit. But if you're not willing to do that, it's going to be an epic fail. And so we see this as a general rule, and I couldn't even describe the process without getting on my soapbox first. But that is objectively the process and how it works.
Yeah, yeah, and this is, look, it's fine. That's worked for a long time. You can come up with really, really wonderful and clever ad campaigns, and we've talked about a lot of them here. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't fundamentally change the reality that digital ad spend is dramatically increasing to now, the first time this year in 2017, it is outpacing TV. More and more cord cutters people are leaving cable, and of course with DVR, the ability to skip ads is greater now than ever before, and so your TV ad dollars, fewer people are listening to radio with the introduction of podcasts over the last 10 years. So we have some structural changes in media consumption habits that are going to dramatically impede your ability, and even the old firewalls on TV of politics and live sports. What is it? The NFL is seeing like a 13% decline again this year, on top of like an 11% decline last year. That's a massive loss of viewership. And so the point is, the agencies, we would encourage agencies to say, look, if you're going to do influencer right, which you're going to have to do at some point, or you're going to be left behind. Like, sorry, like, we learn the lesson of the newspapers and print saying you have to stay on top of changing media consumption habits, because if you don't, you're going to be absolutely, like, it's amazing to me that newspapers were caught off guard by Craigslist. How did you not think about that? How did you not recognize that Craigslist had the capacity to completely undermine your entire business model? And no one, as far as I can tell, was like, waving their hands saying, we've got to think about this differently, or else we're going to get caught by it. And I would say that this is the same thing for agencies who have specifically relied on TV. You've got to get smart to this. But you also have to recognize right now that you are structurally incapable of doing this well. Because of the way that you've been doing this for the last 100 years. You are structurally incapable of it. And so, and you have a role here to educate your brands. And we get that you don't want to put your massive budgets at risk. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to have to, if you're going to be able to effectively speak to the next generation of media consumers, or even the current generation who are changing their habits.
Yeah, and there's ways you can mitigate that risk, which we can get into a later episode. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions from the agencies thinking that you're really putting these other areas at risk by doing influencer marketing. You're not.
You're not.
But I before we wrap up, I want to go back and not talk about the agencies for a minute, but talk about the brand. So if you're a brand marketer and you're sitting there listening to this, and some of this is making sense and resonating with you, there's a really big question for you to make, which is, do you want to go down the path of trying to convince your primary agency of record, your AOR, to try to get into influencer and do influencer right? Or do you want to have both an influencer agency and also a more traditional agency? And we're seeing more and more that the traditional agencies are structurally set up to handle content which they can curate, they can manicure, they can be in charge of.
We need a flashing graphic at the bottom that says self-serving content
It
alert.
is self-serving.
It's totally self-serving.
But I acknowledge that 100%. But I'm also just really passionate about it because whether you use us or not, it's a hell of a lot more effective for brands if you're going to have an influencer agency and a traditional agency.
Yeah, just to be fair, just to be totally fair, I mean, I have no problem with this. What are some other agencies that are specifically influencer agencies that we would feel all right recommending? I'd feel good recommending Media Kicks. I like Evan. I think he's a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Media Kicks does a good job. There's an agency that's really focused more on podcasting, which obviously is a big part of influencer marketing. We tend to do more YouTube, so Performance Bridge
does a fantastic job in the podcast space.
Work there as well. So, and look, there's other influencer marketing agencies. So this is not, hey, Outloud is the best thing since sliced bread, and we're very careful not to do that on here.
Right.
But hopefully we have a little bit of goodwill built up, because this is not me selling you on us. This is me selling you on how you can be successful with your ad budget and moving away from just saying we need a traditional agency to also recognize the need for an influencer agency, because traditional agencies very good at all content they can curate and manage and oversee and dictate what the creative needs to be, which is the exact opposite of what makes you successful in influencer. So those are great agencies. They provide a lot of value, but they're very top down. Yeah. And for influencer to be effective, it's got to be bottom up. Yeah, and so to flip that mindset's really, really hard. And so, that's a sell for how you can try to either educate your main agency or explore bring on an influencer agency, not a sell for the Outloud group.
Right.
You can judge for yourself.
But I mean, one of our mantras around here, and I think is a good place to wrap up, is you're looking for brand advocacy. You're not looking for brand voice. Brand advocacy, not brand voice. And agencies right now are currently structured only to, it's only brand voice, it's brand creative, it's their ideas, it's we need people to go do this for us. And it's really a production mindset versus what we are looking for are brand advocates. And I would say, again, for any brands watching this, the better place to start is your PR team. Not your media team and not your creative team and not even your brand team. The better place to start is your PR, because at least the PR folks, they get that what we're looking for is advocacy out of that. And I would, if I were a CEO of a or a CMO of a very large company, and I would take my influencer budget, I would give it to the PR team to go do paid media around this, but with the PR approach, because that's much closer to what we're honestly wanting to do. And you're going to have far fewer hurdles if you go through the PR side rather than going through your digital. Yeah,
I think PR is fantastic. We also love it when the brand team works together with the acquisition team, especially in the YouTube world, because typically those are people coming from very different perspectives. Brands, a lot of TV and radio, and acquisition does a lot of SEO, SEM, banner ads, trackable things.
And social, like Facebook, that is.
Yes, very trackable. We love it when those two organizations are coming together and working jointly, because at the end of the day, influencer marketing sits across both of those buckets. Anyways, a lot of content in here. This has been a dense rant. But also, hopefully, you find this beneficial. Certainly, we're passionate about this one. So appreciate you tuning in today.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something.
Goodbye from Detroit.